Tying up another wet fly today from Ray Bergman's book Trout. This is called the Indian Rock. It's a handsome little fly with the barred or the mallard flank in here, adding some contrast, and then the bright scarlet accents in the wing. Often I don't see a tail combination like this, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to do. The hackle is a palmered hackle, kind of like you would a rib, instead of a collar or a throat on this. I just thought it was a handsome fly. Thought we could give it a try. So that's the Indian Rock. I'll get started tying. So I'm going to start the Indian Rock with my hook in the vise. This is a Mustad 33.99 in a size 6. It's a standard wet fly hook. I'm going to debarb the hook. And I'll attach my thread. I'm going to use a Danville 6/0 in black. Because there's no floss in the body here, I don't have to concern myself with starting with a white thread. I'm going to attach my thread about an eye length behind the eye of the hook. And I'm going to run it down to just past the point of the hook. I've already waxed the thread. Gives me just a little bit more grip to it. The tail on the Indian Rock is scarlet, and it has some mallard flank over it. I'm using actual goose for this. You could use duck, especially if you're a smaller size here or that's all you have. But they have to be a little bit long, especially on a larger size hook, so I just went with the goose. I've got 2 slips already cut out here and matched up. I'm going to tie those in, so I like them a little bit longer, so I measure usually from right behind the eye of the hook to the bend of the hook. I'm going to tie in the goose first. A few wraps to secure that, working my way backwards still. Clip off the excess, and then I'm going to put some mallard flank on top of that. This is a nice fly for using some of these mallard feathers that are kind of busted up, because all you really need is maybe about 10 to 12 barbs. So I can isolate those out of here. Still put some of those feathers to good use. And that's going to be the same length of the tail. Tie that right in on top. Again, a few wraps, working my way backwards. I also don't have to worry about being quite as smooth with all of this because of the fact that the Peacock Herl will cover that up. The hackle on the Indian Rock is just a scarlet or red hackle. This is just a Chinese neck. It has nice short feathers, and the barbs are just about the right length, and the overall feathers the right length for the size hook that I'm using. I'll isolate the tip here, and then just like this, and then stroke those barbs so they're out a little bit, and then tie in just the tip here. If that's a little bit longer, go ahead and cut that off so that it's the length of the body. And then the body itself is Peacock Herl. I'm just using some strung Peacock Herl. I'm going to get I like about 6 for this size, 6 or 7. I wouldn't go less than 5, otherwise you're putting in a whole lot of wraps. I'm going to even those tips up and trim the tips off. And then I'm going to secure those. By now I've worked my way down to the end of the body, and so with those secure, I'll work my way forward. I'm going to wrap in the Peacock Herl for the body and then the Hackle, we'll get palmered in. I just put in 5 wraps of that hackle, just as the same as you would like a rib. Just palmer that forward. Notice that the length of the barbs are just a little bit past the gap of the hook. You can have those a little shorter if you like. Securing that in, I'm going to smooth this area off. Be careful not to make this too big, too long I should say, because we're going to tie in our wing here as well as the accent in the wing, which is going to be some goose shoulder. For the wing, it's just a mallard flank. I've already prepped a feather here. I've done this in numerous other videos in terms of taking this and just folding these together to get you the profile of the wing that you're looking for. Some of the difficulty with this particular setup is these hackles right here can kind of get in the way, especially if you're trying to set the wing down like this and then bringing in your hands here to hold it. So I like to just kind of start by sweeping back a little bit and then grabbing that all at the same time. A little pinch and loop. Few wraps to secure that in, and we'll take a look at our wing. You're going to get that kind of pushing up just a little bit because of those hackles. Can't get around that. Trim away the excess. Then I'm going to tidy this up just a little bit here. And the other part of the wing on the Indian rock is some Scarlet, and I'm using goose shoulder. Goose shoulder is nice and limber. They're very long. They're not as stiff as, say, the quills. So I like to use those in accents like this. You could also use it for the tail if you wanted to. So I'm going to take a slip of about 4 barbs out for each side here. The tail also is about 4 to 5 barbs if you want a little bit wider. I'm going to place this in so it's about the length of the wing, but I want, notice when I just tied that in, it kind of pulled it over to the side. I'm securing it with this hand, and I'm going to pull this back up, not quite on top. I'm just on the upper outside portion of the head. This is going to keep it at a nice slope this way. Like I said, I don't want it on top. If I were to tie it in on the side here, at least I found that the accent here can kind of kick up in different directions. So that's what works for me. take a slip off the other side. For my side here, this one's a little bit wide. So I'm going to take one barb out. Same thing, I'm going to make it the same length as the other and the wing. You'll probably notice that when I wrap this in, see how it's kind of pushing it up as the tension on that thread hits it. I'll loosely get that over there around it, and then I can, keeping it secured with my left hand, I can move those slips right in where I want them so they get tied in just kind of on the upper side of the head. This also helps you from getting that head on this fly too big. So now I will tidy all of this up, getting everything wrapped down and covered with the thread. I can flatten my thread and put in a whip finish. Flattened thread just kind of fills that in a little bit, smooths it off. I'm going to put some black lacquer on this, which will definitely smooth it off, but kind of gives me a nice, little bit smoother base to it. Now a little bit of head cement. It's funny how we sit here and fuss about the flies in the vise, getting them all looking just right, just nice and everything, but in the water, that's going to be completely different, especially after you catch a fish or two with it. That is the Indian rock. Like I said, just a handsome little fly. I've seen a number of wet flies in Bergman's book that have this little accent in the wing. I haven't seen too many that have two components to the tail like this. And actually, I think the written recipe has the crimson over the mallard flank, but the picture that is in on the plate by Dr. Burke has it this way. So there you have it. That is the Indian rock. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned at least a new pattern, if not a new technique, maybe a tip or trick here and there. If you have any questions about this fly or any of the techniques used in constructing this pattern, please leave them in the comments section down below. If you go to the trouble to ask a question, I'll go to the trouble to answer it. If you'd like to help dressed irons, please share this video with your friends and anybody you think that might enjoy this pattern. Until next time, remember, it's fly tying. If you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.